So yesterday we are here and we discussed until filter activity, and we also discussed about one use case. Okay. Yeah. So with that, we'll continue further with the next set of activities and few other stuff. So it is just few things before I forget, right? Maybe few things you need to remember. You activate and deactivate the activities inside your ADF. So once you right click, you can see active and deactivate your activity. So based on your requirement, maybe you can do that. And one more option we have seen is debug until a particular activity. So if I want to run only from to this point of time, then you can do this debug until. Let me open the ADF, and I'm just opening one pipeline, any pipeline. Okay. So this is what I'm saying. Suppose if I want to deactivate this, maybe you can do this, deactivate by clicking on this. Suppose I want to execute only till this point. I don't want to execute this for each loop. Then maybe I can say debug until, so that this will be deactivated. So that means it is a disabled, not deactivate. Okay. So that's how you can be able to do those two options. And then clone, I told you, maybe if you want to clone anything, maybe let's say data set or pipeline, whatever it is, maybe you can just click on this and you can clone this. And based on your requirement, you can change your pipeline name and as well as some activities inside your cloned pipeline. So same way you can be able to do data set as well. So data sets also, you can go here and you can clone and you can do whatever you want. Even you can rename it and everything. So the support files, right? So this also will be available for data set and pipeline. So that means suppose let me do this support files. So click download support files. So it will download everything. So it is something like when you click on this, you can be able to see JSON of your pipeline. So when I do this download support files, it will download all the supported files of that particular pipeline. Okay, so that includes link service, pipelines, and everything. So let me go there and you can see. So support files, right? So here, if you see, I'm having data set, what data sets it is that particular pipeline is using, and then what are the link services that particular pipeline is using, and what is the pipeline. Okay, so that is how this will be helpful, so that you can use this as part of your ARM template, so which is for deployment purpose. Okay, so there you can make use of this, or even if you want to share with some other team member, so this can be shared so that they can be able to import this and they can be able to work on the data set, link service, or pipelines, whatever it is. Okay, so that is this part, download support files. So even from here you can do that, even from here you can see the same thing. So download support files. Okay. um, yeah, so that is another one, JSON copy to build pipeline. Maybe that is what I'm saying. So this is the one I told you, and also the support files. Okay, so this is just some common things which you need to understand at area of level. Okay. Yeah, let me go to the next slide. Okay, so going further, we have few more activities to discuss. And today we'll start with this stored procedure activity. So stored procedure activity, basically, what is stored procedure? In database level, so whatever you are writing, so those things will be, suppose you inside your database, you are writing some logic. So you have different commands in SQL, which a few commands are to select the data from your database tables and few to delete, update, insert. So likewise, you will be having multiple commands or clauses or statements in your SQL, where you can be able to interact with your database and you can perform some operations into it. Okay, so instead of SQL, so in SQL, instead of writing some select statement or something. So if you want to achieve some kind of scripting, some kind of logical grouping of your commands, creating some temporary variables and writing some if conditions. So if you want to perform that kind of stuff in your database, there you will be using this store procedure. So store procedures. So inside the store procedures, you can be able to write your logic and you can be able to do insert, update, delete, whatever you want, you can be able to perform that inside your store procedure. Okay, so are we really going to create a lot of complex store procedures in ADF? Actually, no. But we need to understand what is stored procedure and how to pass. How do you understand the parameters in terms of store procedure and how do you write the logic inside store procedure? So that understanding you need to be aware of that. Okay, it's not that we are going to write a lot of complex store procedures. Definitely not. We are not going to write anything, but we'll be having something like that. Okay, so we need to use whatever is been created inside the store procedures. Okay, so once you create store procedures inside your database, you have created your store procedures. So now, how do you call these store procedures? So you want to execute the store procedure from your ADF. Okay, so this is very common concept. So definitely you'll be having databases wherever you are working with whatever the technology you are working with, right? So you need to connect from Java to database, Python to database, or any ETL tools to database. Okay. So there is some convention to connect to the database and maybe to call the store procedures. So in ADF, to connect to the database, we will be using this stored procedure activity. Okay, so inside the stored procedure activity, you can be able to execute your SQL statements. Suppose if you want to insert or if you update or delete. Actually, this supports only these operations, DML operations. So you can't do select or you can't perform other operations, but we can be able to perform update, delete, and insert operations. So only these things will be done from store procedure activity from ADF. So how do we do that? We'll see. So I'm not writing store procedures on my own. I'll take the help of ChatGPT and maybe let us create one sample store procedure. Okay, so the store procedure, right? What I'm trying to do is I'm going to create a store procedure in my database. Okay, so the store procedure intention is I want to insert records into a table. Okay, maybe with the two columns. Just for the sake of example, I'm taking the maybe process ID and timestamp. So I want to insert these two values into a particular table using this stored procedure. Okay, that's what I'm trying to achieve from ADF. So, but don't worry, I'm just for the sake of example, I'm trying to explain this, but we will be having uh, very good use case when you are working on this ingestion framework. Okay, so let me open this. I'll just show you where I'm using this store procedure. So if you see here, right? So while explaining this ingestion framework, I'll explain you the exact scenario and why we are using the store procedure. So that time we'll clearly understand what is the purpose of store procedure and in real case, real time, how do you use this store procedure. So that time you'll get to know what exactly is happening here. Okay, so just for the sake of example, again I'm saying I will create one sample pipeline and we'll try to understand how to call this store procedure activity. Okay, so let me create one new pipeline, which is store procedure activity. Okay, and I'll be calling that store procedure activity. Okay, so we'll be having good amount of scenarios. So if you see, I have connected something, and that means I'm expecting some data from my previous activities and as well as some parameters and all. And I'm using the store procedure activity, and I'm calling some store procedure activity to perform something. Okay, so this is little bit of complex level. So that we'll see maybe after 3 or 4 days. Again, we will be using this store procedure activity. So for now, I'm just trying to explain you this simple scenario. I have a table with two columns, and I want to insert the data into this table by using store procedure activity. That's all. Okay. So to do this, right, definitely you need a sample table. Okay, with the two columns. I need that. and then a stored procedure which I need to create inside the database. And then I can call that stored procedure from my ADF. Okay, so maybe this is simple use case. If you are thinking this requirement is little bit of complex, no, it's not a complex requirement. Just once you get this requirement, right, just break down the requirement, what exactly they're talking about. So once you hear this particular requirement, you can understand there should be a table with the two columns. That is first step. Okay, so that is first step. And after that, what I need to do, I need to have a stored procedure. Okay, so which will be taking care of insertion of this particular data. So that means this stored procedure should be having some insert statement. That's all. Okay, simple one. So this one, right, as I mentioned, we need to perform this inside a database. This is the database. I'm just logging into the database. Database, yeah. Okay. So, and I'm using ChatGPT help to create the table and as well as the stored procedure. Can you give me stored procedure to insert data into a table? Maybe table name also I'm giving analytics schema dot sp example table with two columns, process ID and process timestamp. Can you give me store processor to insert data into a no. Table with two columns, process ID and process timestamp. Store processor name is something like SP insert. Okay, just I'm seeking the help of ChatGPT to write that particular logic. I don't want to write all that. Even I don't remember what exactly needs to be done. Okay, the schema does smell like, but I don't want to guess and give you something. Tell me, no, smell that inserts into. Tell me database. Oh, it's not Snowflake. It is Azure SQL database. So they actually that gave a Snowflake kind of syntax. So, but we are looking for SQL database, right? So this is the stored procedure. So this is what the stored procedure we are expecting. The stored procedure name is sp underscore insert, which is inside this particular schema. Okay, and what are the two columns it is expecting? The two columns are process ID and process timestamp. And once it begins, what it is doing, insert into this particular sp underscore example table, and the column names inside this particular table is PID process timestamp. And where are we getting? We are getting those values from somewhere. So from some input parameters or from some other variable, other activities, we are extracting this particular two columns and we are inserting into this particular table. So this is what the complete store procedure is. So before this, definitely what we need to take care, we need to create this particular table first. First, we need to create this particular table with these two columns. Then on top of it, we need to execute this store procedure to insert into the table. So maybe how to do that? Create a procedure. Okay. I'll ask the table name also. Can you give me the create table statement for this one with two columns, process ID and process timestamp? Okay, I'm just copying this, going into database and executing this create table, this one with the two columns, and I just executed. ICS. Okay. So the table got created. So now on top of it, I want to create the stored procedure. So the stored procedure is this one. So I just copied this and going here and executing this. So the stored procedure got created, and the stored procedure, as I mentioned, so if stored procedure is expecting some parameters, those parameters list will be here. So the parameters which are passing to the stored procedure is process ID and process timestamp. And once it receives those things, right? So where is this going? These two parameters inserting into these two columns, which is of this ex underscore table. So let us see what is the data inside this table right now. Select star from this one. So nothing, no data inside that particular table. So now let us go here, and I want to use this store procedure activity as I mentioned, and I want to insert the data into this. So I'm just going here, link service. So to connect to the database, obviously we need link service. So just select the link service which is connected to that particular database. And then once you do this, right, automatically all the store procedures, whatever is available in this particular database, that list you can see from here. Oh, something got wrong. Testing connection. Maybe connection is not good. Let me see this one. Okay, so again, it is pointing to some IP address which is not available. So yesterday we have seen, right? So these things happen maybe at the practice level, right? So these things may come into picture. So you just need to add this particular IP address, whether this is available there or not. I'm just using duplicate and I'll open server, database server, this one. Hey, no, 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 this one. So go to networking, select the networks, and what is IP address we are pointing, this one. And I'm just, so it is 2042. It starts with the 3.0, but it is in the range of 2.58. So maybe I'll change this to 2.0 so that this 2.58 will come into that range. So I'm just changing that and save. So as I mentioned, right, this happens in our environment, but in the actual projects, right? So these kind of errors you will not see. Yeah, connection successful. So now once you do that, right, and once you see this, what all the stored procedures available in this particular database, all that list you can see from here. Maybe I'm just refreshing it. Okay, so some store procedures which is created by default, and this is the store procedure what we have created. So once I click this, right, automatically you can see the parameters. So we have created this store procedure with some parameters, right? Two parameters, two parameters. So these two will come into picture when you select that particular store procedure. Okay. So now if you see here, store procedure import. These are the store procedure parameters, right? So just go there and just say import. Automatically, you can see the parameters which we are passing to that particular store procedure. Okay, so that's what we did, and the values are coming something like this. Okay, and what are the data type? Basically, integer and date type. And while creating database, what we have done, integer and data. Okay, so we need to pass some value to these two, right? So maybe you can hard code so that those things will be going into that particular one. Maybe this one 2026 0206. I'm just executing this. Schema.sp underscore the table name. So if you see now, this might have been completed. So I'm able to see the data which has been inserted from my area to the table. So something like I don't want to again hard code. I want to get this process ID. It is just a kind of a random generated ID, and then this one is something like date time. I want to provide some date to this particular date time. So if that is the case, how do you do that? Maybe you can use set variable and use that set variable and pass this. Maybe you need to create a variable. Maybe I'm saying just a time. Okay. So time, obviously you will not be having any date data type. So string can be passed to your date time. Okay. So what you need to provide. So maybe I'm saying time, and how to get the time. Maybe you have UTC now, right? So by using UTC now, you can be able to get that particular time. So UTC now. I just did that, and I'm going here. Instead of this, I'm just providing variables time, so that time will be generated automatically and that will be passed. So similarly, you can be use this. You can create some a variable for this process ID, and also you can pass that to your store processor. I just did for time. Okay, so you can create as much as parameters or fields for your table, and you can pass those from your store processor by using some variables. Okay, so now if I go and run, now I can be able to see two things. One is inserted earlier, and now since I have used GUID, right? Sorry, UTC now, right? So it will give you the complete, like with hours, minutes, seconds, and everything. So that's how you can be able to send this particular information through store processor from ADF to the database. Okay, so this is about store procedure activity. As I mentioned, the actual projects, how we use the store procedure, I'll let you know. Actually, I have created that sample and everything. Maybe Azure ADF step by step. So here I have created the store procedures and how to call that particular store procedures. Everything I have defined. And anyway, I'll be sharing this one, right? So you can understand. Where is store procedure, store procedure, create table, store procedure, create table. Yeah, so this is the one. So create procedure, this one something, and insert. So similarly, I'll be having something else like update store procedure. So where do we use this insert, update? All those things will be discussed in detail. Okay, once we get into that particular ingestion framework. So that's about store procedure activity. Any questions for me? Okay. So the next one is script activity. So script activity, this also will connect to database, and using script activity also we can be able to perform the operations just like your store procedure activity. If that is the case, why do we have two different activities? Because store procedure activity, it can be able to perform only update, delete, and insert, but script activity can be able to perform everything, okay, including select. So if you want to select, that can be done. If you want to do this DML operations, that can also be done inside the script activity. So if that is the case, why do I need store procedure? Directly I can go and use this script activity, right? Why? Because when you are using script activity, you no need to create store procedures upfront in your database. So to use this, what we have done inside database, we went and we have created store procedures, and those store procedures we are calling from your ADF. But script activity, we no need to have stored procedures upfront in your database. So that is not required. So on the fly, you can go and write whatever you want in your ADF. Okay. So sometimes, right, maybe some architects of a few projects, they will not allow you to use this script activity. Why? Because it's not under DBA control, or since we are going to directly hit the database. So earlier I mentioned to you, like database is more much important for business and business people. So as a developer, if you are doing some incorrect logic, and if you are updating or deleting something from your database, it impacts the business a lot. Okay, so that is the reason maybe I don't want to give you the full access to the developer. Instead, we will be creating stored procedures upfront in my database. And once you create, definitely developers will not be able to change those stored procedures. So that's how we'll be having control at database level, and the developers will not be having any control onto it. Okay, so that's how the stored procedures are important. Okay, stored procedure activity is important. And if you go to use script activity, right, you can be able to write whatever you want. If you want to delete something by using script activity, you can be able to do that. Okay, so that's how. So if it is very much required, then only we will be using script activity. It's not recommendable since users will be having control on the database. Okay, so users in the sense of developers. So developers will be having control on the database. That is not good for business. Okay, but this can be done everything. So this can do select operations and as well as DML operations and everything. Okay, so let us see what this script activity is saying. Go here and get the script activity. And inside the script activity, right, you just select your database, sorry, link service, what is your database is. And here you'll be having two things. One is query and another one is non-query. So inside stored procedure, we're not having any such kind of flexibility and options inside your stored procedure activity. But here, query. So if you want to write some logic in the sense, if you want to select something, so I want to get the data from a particular table, select star from some table. Okay, so simply you can be able to write that, and you can be able to extract the data from that particular table. Suppose I want to extract the data from sales LT dot address, sales LT dot address. Maybe you can go on right here and execute this. So since I have not connected, right? So this flow and this will execute in parallel. So both of these two started at the same time, if you see. Since no dependency. Script is not started, it is waiting for something. Okay, so it is completed. If I go here and I can be able to see there are 450 records, and these are the records which I am able to extract the data from that particular table. So can you tell me what is the equivalent? Maybe how can I do this by using any other activity in ADF in terms of query? So we are able to write some logic like a select query, and we are extracting the data. So how do you get this? By using any other activity available in ADF? Okay. If you remember lookup activity. So lookup activity, it can be able to extract the data from a table or a file. So if it is file, then you can be able to extract from a particular file, or you can be able to extract the data from multiple files by using wildcard file path. So this I have explained you in delete activity. So, but the concept is same. So the delete and whatever the activity, but the concept is same. So use this and you can be able to get it. So likewise, if I want to extract the data from the table, you can be able to extract the data from table or query. So this option, when you say this option inside your lookup and script query, both are exactly same. Okay, so even here you can be able to write the same thing. And lookup stored procedure, you can be able to extract and you can be able to select the way we are doing inside the stored procedure. So same thing you can be able to perform in lookup as well. Okay, so that's what this lookup is a combination of these things. Okay, so that's why we'll, if it is very much required, then only we'll be using the script activity, but it's not recommendable as I mentioned. Okay, so I'm going back here. And inside this query, right, it's not only select star from something, whatever you want. So whatever you want, you are expecting from this, you can be able to write that particular logic from here. Suppose select address, inside the address, suppose address ID, city, this one, and maybe customer address ID, address ID. Okay, suppose I want to join address and customer address based on address ID, since address ID is available in both, and I want to extract city and customer ID. Suppose simple logic. Okay, suppose I want to write sales lt dot address, um, maybe a sales lt dot customer address c. I'm just giving alias, right? Where a, what is this? Where a dot address ID, address ID equal to c dot address ID, a dot address ID, a dot city, comma c dot suppose customer ID. I'll explain you. If you are aware of SQL, no need of explanation. But if you are not aware of SQL much, maybe what I'm trying to do, I have two tables: address and customer address. So inside the address, I'm having the details like what are the different address details, like address ID, which line, which city, which postal ID, something like that, and customer ID, customer details along with that particular customer address. Okay, so this is how you need to get data from two different tables by joining. So I'm joining address table and customer address table by address ID, and I'm extracting only address ID, city, to which city that particular address belongs to, and what is the customer ID. So that's what I got the data from this. So if you want to get the same thing, same effect from your script activity, you can write the entire thing and just execute this. Okay, so what I meant to say is it's not only self start from in this particular query. Whatever the query you want, maybe you want something 100 lines or 1000 lines of SQL query, you can embed that SQL query inside this particular query option of your script. It's not only script, even in lookup activity also, whatever the things you are expecting, right? So that you can be able to write there inside lookup query as well. Okay, now if you see script output, this is the output. So this is same as yours. Okay, so how you are extracting the data from here, something 490, 29698. So same way you will be getting the same output. So that is how you can be able to use this particular query option. So same way non-query. So non-query is simply the same thing what we have written over here. So inside this store procedure, you have written some logic, right? So while creating store procedure, you have written some logic. So same thing you can be able to write from here. Maybe I'm just removing this, enter manually. Hey, sorry, this is store procedure. So this is stored procedure. Inside the script activity, I can go here, I can delete this, and I can be able to write the logic here. Okay, so you guys give it a try. So same thing. So whatever you have written, stored procedure creation, right? So same thing you can be able to execute over here. Okay, but there are some things you need to take care. Okay, so just modify that and make it executable inside your script activity. Okay, so this is about stored procedure activity and script activity. So which will interact with your database execute particular steps. And as I mentioned, just compare script activity, store procedure activity with lookup activity. How is it relating? And if lookup activity is there, why do I need script activity? Why do I need store procedure activity? So all such kind of analysis, just go through it and try to understand the relation between these activities. Okay. So any questions for me? Okay. Yeah. So with this, I'm moving to copy data activity. So I think this is the last activity. No, we have web activity. Other than that, yeah. So this is the last activity and which is major activity in ADF. Okay. So please try to understand end to end. The purpose of copy data activity is simple. So if you want to copy from a source to target, that can be done by copy data. Okay, it's a data transfer, copies from source to sink. So whatever we have seen so far, right? Script activity, it is not data transfer activity. It's a it is just data extraction activity, script activity, or lookup activity, or get metadata activity, whatever we have seen so far. And it is just extracting the data from your tables, files, something like that. But it's not a data movement activity. So as I mentioned, ADF, Azure Data Factory, the main purpose of ADF is ingestion. That means data movement. Data is moving from some point to another point, some from source to some other destination, target. Okay, sync. Okay. So that thing, that data movement, data transfer will be done by this copy data activity. So that is the reason I'm saying this is the more useful activity inside your ADF. So this is basically data transfer activity. And before going further, right, I just mentioned here not to forget. Suppose I have something like this. Suppose I want to copy a data from ADLS to Azure SQL database. Okay, so this is my requirement. Something like this. Inside the ADLS, I'm having a container. Inside that particular container, I'm having some 20 files. Okay, so please listen carefully and give me the answer. Okay, so inside the ADLS, I'm having 20 files. So these 20 files, I want to copy into Azure SQL database. Okay, maybe I'm having 20 tables and I just need to dump the data from here to here. Okay, so if this is the case, simple ask is how many data sets I need to create and how many link services I need to create, and then how many IRs I need to use. With this use case, how many number of data sets I need to create, how many number of link services, and how many number of IRs. Yeah. So IR is also one. IR is only one is enough because you are transferring data from cloud service to cloud service. Okay, suppose instead of ADLS, you are getting some from some Oracle, some on premises. In this case, maybe it may be one or two. Since I can be able to use SHIR for both on-premises and as well as cloud service, we can be able to use single IR, that is self-hosted integration runtime. Or there might be some other decision to connect to on-premises, I'll be using SHIR. Okay, so on-premises, definitely you need SHIR, self-hosted integration runtime. So the Azure managed IR, you can't use this Azure managed integration runtime to connect to on-premises. Okay, so the second case is SHIR I'll be using for on-premises and Azure managed IR to connect to Azure database. So if that is the case, I'll be using two integration runtimes. Otherwise, maybe the architect decided to use SHIR to connect to both on-premises and as well as Azure SQL database. So that is, there is a possibility, single or two. And link services, yes, definitely we need to use two link services. Okay, why not 20? Actually, we have 20 files, right? Uh, why not 20? Only is a single link services good enough to connect to 20 files or 20 tables? Yes, it is right. Uh, Once you decide to connect to Azure SQL database, we'll be having single link service. So it's like, as I mentioned, single library building. So inside the building, you'll be having multiple floors, and inside that, we'll be having multiple books. Okay, but building address is single. Okay, so that is how link service is. So link service, a single link service for one service, one cloud service. Okay, so since here we have one Azure database and as well as ADLS. So that's why you need to use two. And data sets, basically for this entire 20 tables, maybe you can use single data set, and for ADLS, another data set. Okay, but these things should be parameterized. Why I'm saying parameterized? If my table is something like, as I mentioned, analytics dot employee. So this is one table. Maybe one more table is something reporting dot product. Okay, if it is something like this, right? So inside your data set, you have to define the parameters. Schema name as one parameter, table name as another parameter. Okay, so then only you can make use of single data set to address 20 tables, single data set to address 20 files. Okay, so that is how you need to think of. Okay, so just mentioned here to reiterate what is IR, what is LS, and what is DS, what is data set. Okay, so this copy data activity, you can be able to transfer data from any source to any sink. It's not that ADLS to ADLS, SQL database to SQL database, Oracle to database, or some Cosmos DB to ADLS. No, whatever you want, however you want. Only thing is you just need to take care of this link services and datasets. So if I want to connect to Cosmos DB, you will be creating link service to your Cosmos DB. That's all. It can be able to connect to Cosmos DB, and it can be able to extract the data from Cosmos DB, and maybe that can put into ADLS. So likewise, whatever your source or sink, the corresponding link service has to be created, and then the next behavior is common. Okay, so you just need to take care of that link service and data set. So after that, all these options applicable for every kind of data. So what are the different options? So first we'll start with slow meaning the basic understanding of copy data activity, and from there we will slowly understand the different options inside your copy data activity. Copy data. So copy data activity. Here, suppose I'm having this one, right? We know that we have some database and we have some. Uh, okay, so this is database. Let me open storage account as well, ADLS as well. Suppose this is containers. Inside the containers, I have input and output, right? So let us do one thing. Maybe let us get some data from table and put this data into ADLS. Okay, so transfer the data from database to ADLS. Okay, so I'm going here. So all these options, as I mentioned, so we'll come back to each and every option of this, and each and every option of source, sync, mapping, settings, user properties, all these things we'll see at this point of time. All right. So I'm going one by one. So basic understanding and basic logic of your copy data activities. What is your source and what is your sync? Okay, so that's all. After that, we'll see. So here, I'm trying to extract the data from a table. Okay, so I'm just parameterized, right? So I'm using that parameterized data set instead of hard coding. If you see database table, it may be some hard coded. So this is hard coded one. So I don't want to use that. So that is the reason I'm using this one. Okay, so here maybe I'll pass the schema name and address or address. Okay, so I want to get the data from this particular table, and I want to store the data into my ADLS. So sync is your target. So what is the data set of your ADLS? Maybe I'll be using this ds underscore ADLS. Okay, so there maybe let us see what is the directory structure of that ds underscore ADLS. So if you see this one, right? So it is something like this. It's a hard coded something like input slash dim. Okay, so maybe instead of changing this, right? So remember, if you change this, what will be the impact, whatever the changes you are doing, right? So obviously you need to do impact analysis as well. So what is the impact if I change here? Maybe this data set I'm using inside the delete or inside the get metadata activity, maybe I'm using in some other pipelines. So whenever I make this change, automatically this will be impacted. Okay, so that's why I'm keep on asking, create parameterized data sets so that I don't need to think of this. So if I change here, if I make this parameterized now, so that will impact again on your pipelines. Okay, yeah, maybe I'll make this change. So I'm making it as output. So I want to put my file into output directory, and I have parameterized at least my file name. Okay, so let me publish this. What will happen? Okay, so we need to do this. Otherwise, it will throw you an error. Maybe I'm saying address. So let me publish this. Okay, so here what you have done, you have extracted the data from a particular table, and you are placing that table data into a particular file, that is inside your output address. So that is the basic behavior of your copy data activity. As you go this and go to output, keyword, it's taking time. Okay, it's done. Go here, and if you see my address data I got it from my into my storage account. So this has been copied from there to here. Okay, so that is how you can be able to use this. Okay, and same way, if I want to get from ADLS to database, or from ADLS to ADLS, that also can be done. Okay, um, yeah, so give it a try with all those combinations like ADLS to ADLS, database to ADLS to database. So all those combinations, just give it a try with the regular, this is simple functionality. So after that, we'll be having lot other functionalities inside your copy data activity. So we'll see all those one by one. Maybe let me start with copy behavior. Okay, so this copy behavior, right? It is something like this. Maybe to understand this better, right? I'll be using storage account input, input. Inside this input, maybe I'll create 2019, 2020. .txt. Okay, let me upload few files. I'm just trying to understand to simulate the scenario. Okay, emp address. Okay, I just uploaded some files over here, right? So what I will do is maybe I'm just going here and I'm using the data set of my storage account. Okay, I'm trying to copy dim logging input. Okay. So instead of file, right, I'm just using something like this, the input directory. So instead of file, I'm pointing to a directory. So that's what that data set I'm using here. Okay, I'm just trying to simulate to achieve this copy behavior. Okay, so that is why I'm using directory instead of file. Okay, I'm trying to copy the directory now, not the file. Okay, and what is the sync? Maybe I'll be using the sync as a directory. Oh, okay. So again here this one I need output. So what I'll do is maybe I'll create a parameter for the directory. So here parameterized. Okay, so that I can go here and my inside my source, my input is input. What is the input? Input is the my source file, my copy data activity, and what is the output of my copy data activity? Output is the directory which I'm expecting to copy into this particular directory. So that's what my intention is. Okay. So now I have done. I have done the basic configuration of my copy data activity from where I want to copy and to where I want to put that particular files or directories, whatever it is. So this basic understanding is done. So now coming to this copy behavior, right? Specify behavior when copying files between file systems. So based on this selection, copy behavior selection, it will behave differently. Okay, so I'll say preserve hierarchy. So when I say this preserve hierarchy, what will happen? We'll see. So preserve hierarchy. I just mentioned that, and I'll just execute it. So when I say preserve hierarchy, right? When I go to input, inside the input, what I'm saying, inside the input, I'm saying DIM, and inside the DIM, I'm saying something. And again, inside logging, I'm saying something else. And inside input, I'm having some files, right? So with preserve hierarchy, when I execute this, what will happen? We'll see. And one more thing, you have to do this recursively, check enable, and I'm executing this. File path is a folder. The well called file name is equal for copy data one. What happened? Trans account. Actually, when we do this, right, maybe it is asking well called path instead of, it's not a file path, right? It should be files inside some directory. So if it is file which is pointing to data set which is pointing to a file, then file path in data set is proper. But we have given directory. So in that time, it is not proper. So you just need to mention something some wildcard path. Otherwise, it will not take that. So that's what it meant. So now it is done. So it is done and it has done something. So now going back here, and if you see here, I'm having so many things in my input. So again, I'll go to output. So inside the output, the same thing. So if you see dimension, inside the dimension, I'm having data. So same way, I'm having so many files which has been copied from my input to output. Okay, so that's what we have done this by using this copy behavior as preserve hierarchy. So hierarchy in the sense it will maintain directory, subdirectory. Inside the subdirectories, if you have something, so those files. So likewise, it will maintain that particular hierarchy and it will copy into that particular target. So that's how this preserve hierarchy is. Okay, so same way, if it is flattened hierarchy, so I'll just explain this two and I'll stop today. And tomorrow, again, entire tomorrow we'll be discussing on copy data. I'm not sure if it is done, if it can be done by tomorrow itself, or we can discuss not tomorrow, I guess on Monday. Tomorrow is Saturday, right? We'll be having SQL session tomorrow. Monday we'll be discussing the next part of copy data activity. And I select flatten hierarchy. So when I say flatten hierarchy, what will happen is, suppose this one, it will be something like this. Raw, assume that this is your directory, and inside this directory, you're having something like one more directory called year equal to 2024. Inside this, I'm having month equal to 0001. And inside this, I'm having file 1, file 2. And same way, I have one more directory, 02, and I have one more directory, 2025. And inside this, I'm having month 01. Inside this, I'm having file 4.csv. When I select this preserve hierarchy, automatically, this is my source, and my inside my target, the files will be something like this. No, this directory, all the directories will be gone. Only the files will be copied to your actual target. Okay, so I have not, I'm not having those hierarchical part over here, but you guys try from your end. Same way, you just create your folder structure in your input, something like this. This is input. Inside the input, create some directory like this, one more directory, and files inside this. Inside the directory, create one more directory. Likewise, and use your input as source, on output as target, and just select your copy behavior as flatten hierarchy and see how the data is coming out. And to test it, right, so just remove everything. So remove everything and then give it a try. You remove everything and then if you execute it, right, then you will understand. If you keep this as it is and if you try to execute, right, automatically it will not give you proper picture. Okay, so that is how you just test it. And then merge files. Merge files is something, if you have this is much useful. Suppose if you have something like this in a particular folder, suppose sales is a folder, assume that sales is a folder. Inside this, I'm having some March 2020.txt, April 2020.txt. So likewise, you have something, some data like this. So the sales for each day or for each month, you have data. And finally, you want to extract the data from that particular thing and you want to place into total sales. Total sales. Inside this, I'm having suppose 2020. Inside this, I want to get all this data and I want to match. Suppose this is having something 1000 records and this is having something 2000 records. So likewise, you want to match all the records and I want to maintain single file. So if this is the case, this can be done by using this match files option of your copy behavior. So that will match and put into some place. So let us try this one. Maybe I need to simulate the data, so that is the problem. I'm going here. Let us upload some data. So assume I'll be uploading these three. Okay, and condition. Just remember this condition. The format of those files should be same. You cannot combine job, employee, department, product. You cannot merge those files. The scenario is you have something like this. You have sales data of this, sales data of this month, this day, that day, this week. So the similar kind of data with the same structure. So then only you can be able to combine and you can be able to merge those same set of data, same structure of data. Okay, so remember that. And I'm just uploading this. I'm not sure whether these are with the same structure or not. If it is not same structure, definitely it will throw you an error. So assume that I'm having .csv files, these three files, and I want to put them into my target. Okay, so I'm just going here, and this is my input directory. And instead of CSV, I'll take start.csv. Instead of .txt, I'm taking start.csv and output. And instead of this, I'm selecting merge files and just execute it. And if you don't understand few things, right? Suppose I am not understanding. I know copy data activity and I know copy behavior, but I'm not understanding the business context. So where exactly this comes into picture when you're working on some projects. So if you don't understand, go here. In ADF, copy data activity. I'm not sure. I'm just asking. Definitely, it will give you some answer. I'm sure on that. In copy data activity, I'm going to use copy behavior as Mitch files. Can you give me some business context to use this option? Okay, it is successful. I'm just going here and inside my output, this is the file what is being created now. Okay, uh, this will not give you any like meaningful file name. Okay, so it is merging, right? So it will give you something. So this file now will be having the total data which is being populated from those three files: 2019, 2020, 2021. Okay, so all the file data combined, merged, and together formed a file. So that is the purpose of this particular merge files copy behavior. Okay, so if you go here, maybe just take many small data files coming from the source, combine them into if your larger business problem. Reporting tools run slower and cost more potential small files, fewer files. We might do small. So here it is giving you the business context, meaning when do you use this merge files? Okay, so what is the purpose of using these merge files? Can you can you give me an example uh, where can I use this option? Assume it is some retail domain. So here, right, what I'm trying to do, right? So ChatGPT, as you guys know, it's a AI tool. So AI tool, it will use some model at the back end. Okay, so it's a tool. It will use some model to get some information from it or to use it. Definitely, you need to ask something which can be understandable to that particular model. So this is what you guys might have heard about this term, prompt engineering. So this is called prompting. So how good you are at your prompting so that you can get the good response from your tool. Okay, so if your prompting is good, you'll get good response. Okay, so you need to be very clear on that. And second thing is, and I'm just telling you, maybe we'll discuss all these things in AI discussion. So here I'm asking, can you give me an example where can I use this option? So previous answer, something we asked, and some answer is been given by your tool. And again, we are asking follow-up question. Okay, so it is remembering your previous answer, previous question, and on top of it, it will try to give you the answer. So that's how your model will behave. It's not like what is X, X is something, what is Y, Y is something. No, it will correlate with your previous answers and previous questions, and based on that, it will give you the answers. So that's how the yeah, maybe if you see here, a large retail chain has 500 plus stores. Each store sends some transactions to the data lake every 15 minutes. I want to combine those 15 minutes files, something like 500 stores into 96 files per day, total 48,000 files per day. So I want to merge all these 48,000 files per day data into single file, and I want to put that into something like this. Okay, so this is your source data. So raw, as I mentioned and as I explained here, right? So same way. So year, month, store ID equal to 1, store ID equal to 2. So inside that you have files, and you can place that file into single file, something like this. That's all. So each day you'll be having one file. So that's how you can be able to understand when you ask your ChatGPT. So don't sit idle and don't think like this guy told us that he'll be explaining Azure data engineering end to end, but he's not giving the proper examples and everything. No, don't depend on me. I'm just giving you what all the topics required for you to work as a data engineer. So I'm just giving you brief introduction or some high level idea on the topics. So go deeper, and understand the business context, understand the business use cases. Where do we use this? How do we use this? So all those things you have to explore. So nobody explain you end to end, pin by pin. Okay, so if somebody is saying that, he is bluffing you, and also he'll not give you the entire like a good quality content to you. So if somebody is explaining you piece by piece, A, B, C, D, something like that, that's all. So that is nonsense kind of training. Okay. So be dynamic and understand everything from your explore everything. Okay. So that's all. Okay. Then I'll stop here for today, and I'll connect on Monday on ADF, and tomorrow we'll be connecting at 9 o'clock for SQL. Okay. Okay, then I will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much. I'm already sleeping.